I very often talk about impact with regards to how it matters, to yourself as a PhD student, as well as the stakeholders around you. Okay? So that's one of the first things that I would think about. Okay? Now, when I remember when I first started my journey as a practitioner, one of the first things my supervisor said to me was, "You are too much of a practitioner. You're always looking for the shortcuts." Yeah. So remember that you almost have to retrain yourself to think in a way that your research will make an impact on what society, what your stakeholders have, and also the way you write is also different. Yeah, because you're a little bit more detailed in that aspect. Because when I spent 20 years in industry, I used to firefight every day, always looking for solutions. Yeah, as a practitioner. Yeah. So one of the first things I did was to try and define what impact is. And as a research student, you would know there are many types of definitions, and there are many types of stakeholders that are involved. So, and I'll leave it in your own time to talk about what is impact and why it matters to the stakeholders around you. Okay. Now, one of the things that, if you can try and provide a reductionist view. So when I say reductionist, you basically look at how economists will model world problems on a graph. That is a reductionist view, yeah? Trying to reduce it to a graph. So what is very important really is to try and understand, if you can reduce it, who are the stakeholders that you have, yeah? So what I've done here is to look at the aim research focus, where they talk about academia, practice, policy, and society. As a PhD student, most of the time you're interested in... Am I shouting? Okay, can you hear me now? Better? Oh, okay, sorry. Do I need to repeat? I'm fine? Okay, great. Okay, so the pointer, is this? Where's the pointer? Okay, this one. Can you see? Okay, anyway, I know I have got a time frame, am I right? Okay, so very often we look at the stakeholders, and what I'm trying to say here is that very often as PhD students, you only focus on academia, yourself, and practice, but you most often do not think about policy and society at large, yeah? Because society at large is very hard. So, I mean, for those of you who are familiar with British criteria for publishing, research policy is one of those things that we always look to as a 5-star publication, as a 4-star publication, yeah? So in that respect, you kind of look at yourself, trying to understand what is the meaning of your research with regards to yourself, the significance to yourself, and the purpose of doing it. What is the reason for doing your PhD, yeah? So if I were to go back to this, if you kind of look at impact with regards to your PhD focus, you can, in a way, kind of think about maybe it can be a combination of all these different things that will equal to research impact. Yeah, because at the end of the day, your research probably will be for publication. Yeah, and that's how you would go. So in that sense, what you're looking at with regards to engagement with your non-academic stakeholders and perhaps maybe changing some form of behavior will then have research impact, so to speak, okay? Now, part of my presentation requires some kind of group work, but talking in pairs. We'll see whether I have enough time. I'm looking at Amma if I can find him, but no, we'll see, okay? Now, the idea of impactful research looks at a few things, yeah? Very often, I remember, again, my PhD supervisor always telling me, you're not theoretical enough. And I'm not sure whether your supervisory team will tell you, PhD students, theory, where is the theory? Yeah? You often ask yourself that question, okay? So theoretical impact is important because in academia, you are contributing to knowledge. So even if you're moving 1 millimeter, you are moving in the right direction because you are contributing to knowledge, yeah? So don't be afraid, even if you're taking someone else's theory and disproving it, taking somebody else's theory and finding an alternative to answering that theory, it's still fine, yeah? Your supervisors will be the people who will tell you exactly what you can, you cannot do. Now, when it comes to research on the other side, in terms of impact, yeah, policy is one of them, and practical impact, which is the business side of things. But very often, if you look at practitioners, I used to work for Unilever. Whenever I go up with a marketing budget or to ask for it, the first thing they'll say is, what is my return on investment? What is the ROI? Okay? But that is industry speak. In academia, it's a little bit more different. Yeah? So I will come back again to this question. Is there a balance in your research? No one will be able to answer that question except your supervisory team, which will probably be the closer, but not the closest, because you will be the closest to your own data, so you would know to what extent. But what I would say is that in my PhD journey, the way I look at research impact was how I want to spin the story, because all stories are different. Yeah? You can take the same set of data, you can look at it from the north, south, east, and west, and you will come up with a different story. Yep. So remember, your research impact always depends on the story that you want to tell. Okay? Now, the one thing I would that I would want to leave you with is this whole concept of relevance. Yeah? Now, when I say relevance, what I'm trying to point at is trying to understand what you are trying to say in terms of your research and whether it is relevant. Okay? So the broader the relevance, the more impact you would have. The narrower the relevance, the less the impact. The lesser the impact is what I would say. Now, very often when I look at PhD students, in terms of the applications at the beginning, they always talk about context. So when I say context, they will say, in the context of Saudi Arabia, in the context of China, in the context of India, very often I would ask, is that enough? It will be enough if you know how to spin. So when I use the word spin, it comes from marketing. How do you spin a story to suit your narrative? So when I say spin your story to suit your narrative, it basically means how do you tell your story in order to make it relevant? And when you make it relevant, people will be interested. One of the things that I always tell my PhD students, I've got one PhD student from Ahliauniversitybh, and I was telling her the other day, I said that when you complete your PhD, in a movie, when there is a big problem with media and AI, the US government is going to call you because you are the one and only expert on this thing. So think about your PhD like that, If there is a problem in marketing, if there's a problem in AI, in media, social media, they will call you because you are the expert. Only you know everything that there is in that field that you're talking about because you have got depth, okay? What is the other thing? Okay, so this is the one. Where is Amma? Or what's my time frame? Do anyone knows? Have you got like 5 minutes? Because I wanted. You have 5 minutes? Okay, because I want you to talk to one another in pairs, and then just ask yourself in 5 minutes, not 10 minutes, just in 5 minutes, ask yourself where you are in terms of your research. Yeah? Are you looking at research in terms of benefit and evidencing, or are you just at the beginning, trying to understand where you are? Yeah? Maybe spend 1-2 minutes. Just talk to one another before I move on to the next slide. Okay? 2 minutes? The students at the back are talking to one another. I assume these are all faculty here, right? Am I right? Yeah, okay. Don't worry, you're not looking at the back, but your PhD students are talking to one another. Are we good? At the moment, anybody has any questions that you're not? Yeah? You're good? Okay, I can see that you all stopped talking already. Okay, so my next thing I want to talk about was communicating with impact. So there are many different types of impact, but a very quick research reference I would use in terms of using metric cards is this whole idea of where is it that you will publish? What are the journal articles that you have? Where do you sit in terms of your indexing? Yeah. In terms of PhDs, remember the one thing I would often tell my PhD students is that it's a form of measurement. You are measuring something, yeah? Whether it's a qualitative research in terms of describing, whether it's a quantitative research in terms of a matrix or a kind of scale, you are measuring, okay? So in the world of academia, the game is similar. You are measuring and you are being evaluated on your measurements, okay? So when I say that, this is one of those very quick things that you can look at in terms of which are the journals that you want to publish in, whether they make an impact in your field, yeah? But what I would say about research is, I think I spent the first 3 years of my academic life, and this is post 20 years of industry experience, trying to publish on my own because I didn't have someone to tell me what to do. So after all, I realized I can't do this on my own. You kind of need to find somebody to help you, yeah? So what I would say here is part of your PhD journey is about networking. So try to understand students within your own area, talk to them, see whether you can collaborate, even at this stage, because you kind of need to publish as soon as you finish in that respect. And one way to do it really is to talk to your fellow PhD students, try and find common grounds whether you can connect with each other. As an example, I remembered one of my PhD colleagues, husband and wife. One did Islamic law. I come from Malaysia, so Islamic finance is big. One was doing Islamic law, one was doing Islamic finances. They both share the same set of data. Two husband and wife, when they came to Exeter, they had 3 kids. When they left, they had 5. And they finished in 4 years. Okay, so it was very good working as a husband and wife team, publishing in the same academic area in the sense of Islamic finance and Islamic law. Okay, so I will leave you. Now, there are a couple of things that I would like to talk about here. Amma, I'm looking at you. Do you have time? Okay, so the 2 things I want to leave you before I go, it is with other issues around research impact at the moment. There are many things. I'm not sure whether this will reflect on you. This whole idea of publish or perish, basically because you need to publish if you are in the Western world. Yeah, I'm not sure because some teaching universities you don't have to publish. Okay, so if you don't need to publish, what is very important is to find relevance in your research so that businesses will come back to you to ask you. So very often when people talk to me, they will ask me about what I do in services because I research services, and the whole idea of pricing. Yeah. So please remember that. If you're not into publishing, then think of other ways, try to get yourself into job publications that will look at your research in the areas that are up and coming. So what I would say in the business school, what is up and coming really is this whole concept of AI. I would deliver a session tomorrow on AI, humans, machines, and ethics. So think about what it means, yeah? Now, the other thing here is collaboration is what I would say. So when I say collaboration, basically means go and talk to other people, yeah? Remember the saying, 2 brains are better than 1. I'm quite sure that we all sat here today and we thought about it, we might be able to solve some world problems, okay? Because there are some brilliant minds in here today, okay? So think about collaboration. Now, the last thing I wanted to talk about was this whole idea of opportunities, limitations, and future research. And the thing that I wanted to highlight here really is collaboration, which at this particular point in time, I'm not sure whether they are blurred because commercial collaboration versus academic collaboration is quite different. And this whole idea of quantum computing, where we talk about processing at the very fast speeds as well, yeah? And then, of course, sustainability and ethics. So I will leave you with this. In terms of your last bit of your PhD when you're writing up, in terms of your conclusion, and you talk about future research, please feel free to use this and add on to what you want to say, okay? Because there are some things here that you can talk about. Okay, with that, I am done. Anybody has any questions? Are we good? Okay, are you sure nobody has any questions? Okay, great. Yes, great, thank you.